Okay, there was some news story a couple days ago where some black teenager was trespassing and he was swimming and also causing trouble in some private pool. Okay, and then mouthing off, and when a white lady told a guy he doesn't belong there, which he didn't, he just started mouthing off, being all disrespectful and, challenging and aggressive and trying to conquer. Like, it doesn't matter, the rules don't apply to me. I'm black. I'm going to turn on my cell phone. And so you're going to be the lady who kicked the black kid out of the pool, and after he was mouthing off to you and trespassing. And so then the kid gets memorialized as some great victim and civil rights Emmett Till type figure, right? And then the kid, the punk, he's like, "Oh, I'm so traumatized now. Oh, I'm in therapy right now because the lady told me to get out of the pool. Oh yeah, I'm really really hurt." Now, yesterday when Derozan gets traded, we have Lou Williams on Twitter saying, "Oh, I'm really really hurt. Oh, it hurts so bad. I'm a victim too, because you guys traded my friend, DeMar DeRozan. Oh, I'm in pain. I am suffering." And it's really all just manipulation. It's manipulation, aggressive manipulation, trying to assert control. We live in a time right now where any black person, for any reason, can easily portray themselves as a victim, and they can get great power out of that. Whether it's the lady yelling in the street, trying to sell water, screaming at the baseball fans walking by, putting her 8-year-old daughter out there to sell the water, and while the mother is screaming right outside people's windows, and a white lady comes out and says, "Hey man, why are you yelling so much?" And then the lady turns on the cell phone and paints it as the white lady picking on the 8-year-old daughter. And you can't say, at the time when these things happen, you can't say anything, because 300,000 Twitter bullies will descend on you, right? And call you a white devil and all this other stuff. And there's just this we live in a weird time right now, guys, where there's all this racial aggression coming from large segments of the black community. And I think it started with Barack Obama becoming president, when white people thought that this was going to heal and allow whites and blacks to move on beyond our racial history, right? Well, for a lot of black people, they had no intent of ever moving on. This was about domination. This was about asserting. This was about being aggressive and challenging everything in society, just for the advancement of tribal, ethnic, black interests that had nothing to do with content of character, nothing to do with all men are created equal, nothing to do with moving on together as one collective country, society. There's a lot of black people in this country who have no interest whatsoever in ever moving on. And they only see themselves as African Americans, not as Americans. And I think polls just came out, and it was like 50-something% of black people in this country are ashamed of being American. Doesn't that say it all? I'm not saying all black people. I'm saying probably a slim majority or a large minority. So call it 40 to 55, 60%. That's a big chunk of the black community, though. And so DeMar DeRozan gets traded, and it's like almost like a civil rights issue. It's almost like, and you have all these black people with all these abandonment issues. But then there's also, it's just like you're going to, just like we saw most of black basketball Twitter, basketball fans and in general, militantly march in line with the Kawhi Leonard narrative the whole way. That Popovich was the slave driver, Kawhi was the slave, and he was all done being a slave. And so even when he's stealing $19 million, it's not even wrong. Right? And it's all on ethnic lines, guys. You gotta, racial black nationalism is becoming an ever increasingly large part of the NBA universe. Okay? And it's probably just going to get worse, guys. It's probably just going to get worse. Anytime any black player has any issue with any white-run organization, you know, if it's Michael Jordan's team or it's Magic Johnson's team, that's going to be different. It'll be handled differently. But when it's any white coach or white general manager or white owner, and it's a black player who has any kind of problem, even if he's acting like a totally entitled punk, you're going to see large swaths of the black basketball community march in lockstep, military formation, behind that player. And so what is this about? DeMar DeRozan gets traded, and so it's just one opportunity to demonize the Raptors. Raptors in Canada, a white majority country. They're already foreign. They're already outside the American ghetto. It's already a foreign and mysterious entity, even though it's about 10 miles away from Detroit. And but it's DeMar DeRozan, the Compton guy, right? Compton once again. So he's down. He's hood. He's got street cred. He might even be part of a gang still. And so you see this manipulative, fake outrage that DeMar DeRozan got traded, as if players as if players haven't always been traded, as if this is some shocking development. The guy choked 5 years in a row in the playoffs. Teams are supposed to be loyal to a player who chokes 5 years in a row in the playoffs. You can't trade a guy because you sign him to a contract. You know, like, what's going on? You weren't concerned about Kawhi Leonard not being loyal to the Spurs because Kawhi was black and Popovich was white, and the Spurs culture was a more advanced European style, team first, egoless system that put the team collective effort above the individual players. And so many people despise that entire concept of teamwork, of multiculturalism, of putting your ego aside. And that's why the black community is so fucked up, so disorganized. The only time they can ever organize is when some gangster gets shot by police who shoot back. That's the only time you'll ever see large sections, especially the lower 60% of the black community, organize. They don't organize to prevent teen pregnancy. They don't organize to stop black on black crime. They don't organize to change the crime rates. They don't organize to get criminals off the black streets. They don't even call the police. And they have a million excuses for that too. They don't organize to get bad kids and violent bullies in the schools out of the schools, to get them kicked out so that the good kids can learn. They don't do that. It's an individualistic, ego-based, self-destructive, short-sighted, selfish culture. And it's really starting to affect basketball. And once again, I'm not talking about all black people, guys, but you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about 50-60% of the black community. The lower part, the less educated, the less intelligent, the more primitive. There's some bad shit going on there. And it's infecting basketball, and it's getting worse. You know, I'm surprised they're not painting Popovich as the bad guy for trading Kawhi, even though Kawhi demanded a trade for months and months and months and months and stole $19 million from them. I'm surprised they're not pretending that Kawhi wanted to be a Spur. Then we had Isaiah Thomas, everyone saying that Isaiah Thomas was loyal to the Celtics. How was he loyal to the Celtics? And what does loyalty mean? Does loyalty to these black nationalists means giving Kawhi Leonard the Supermax contract, $220 million for 5 years, right after he steals $19 million from you. That's loyalty. Anything less than that is being disloyal. So it's all about being obedient to the black athlete, guys, from this black nationalist perspective. That's what it's all about. It's all about domination. And the fantasy among these black nationalist fans is that these players, these stars, are running everything. And everything is absolutely reflective of this ego-driven, selfish, thug-inspired, thug life-inspired culture that we see in every hip-hop video that's not even run by an industry that's not even run by black people. It's run by malicious white people. But it's become black culture because they're so damn gullible, so damn disorganized, so damn selfish, so damn destructive. So Isaiah Thomas, the only way the Celtics could show loyalty to Isaiah Thomas was to back up the Brinks truck and give this little midget a $30 million a year contract. $200 million is what Isaiah Thomas wanted. A $100 million contract wasn't good enough for Isaiah Thomas. He wanted a $200 million contract at a time when he could not walk. And all these black nationalist morons who know nothing about medicine and anatomy and injuries. The fact is, Isaiah Thomas was limping around for years before he aggravated this injury this year. He was already limping around. He was born with a birth defect. He was never going to be a supermax $200 million player like he was in his mind, no matter how much these black nationalists wanted it to happen, because it's not their money, it's some white guy's money that was going to be going to a black person. Also, notice how all these black nationalists, they want all these white people to give out all this money to black people and to the black community. But you'll never see them wonder why Kawhi or Derozan or LeBron or any of these other mega millionaires, semi-billionaires don't give their money, don't give that much money to the black community. They don't ask that of them. And when these guys go broke 5 years after they retire, the black community doesn't care. They don't think about how that money could have been better spent on the black community. They don't care about that. It's all about getting money from white people. It's a very, very strange situation we have here. And I don't know why this lower section of the black community has to symbolize, has to exemplify what it means to be black. What about the upper 40, 45, 50%? A percentage that could easily spread to 60, 70% with good leadership. Why isn't that the civilized, the domesticated, the sophisticated, the productive segment of the black community, functional, which celebrates marriage, celebrates stability, celebrates saving money, celebrates long-term financial planning? Why can't that be black? Why are those white traits? And what does it say about people who think that those are not white traits, who think that that's acting white? When you get educated, or you save your money, or you don't dress, you don't put all your paycheck on your gold chains. Why is it white to dress simply, to save your money, to not be materialistic, to value education, and to value family, and to value civilization and law-abiding? Why can't those traits exemplify the black community? So Isaiah Thomas, obviously only loyal to the Brinks truck, obviously dealing with a birth defect, a lifelong disorder that was only going to get worse, degenerative hip condition from the day he was born. It was only going to get worse. And being a professional athlete with a degenerative birth defect like that, it was only going one direction ever. And that's why he's a minimum player right now. And so the Celtics were supposed to be loyal. It's not that the Celtics were supposed to be loyal. It's that the Celtics were supposed to be obedient. They were supposed to obey the Black King, Isaiah Thomas. And they were supposed to just give him $200 million to sit around in street clothes for 4 or 5 years. And Isaiah Thomas demanding all this money at a time when he couldn't even walk. And what did the Celtics do? What was their big sin? They allowed him to play to grieve his sister. Okay, Isaiah Thomas was grieving his dead sister. He also wanted to prove that he was a $200 million player. He was playing for a contract. He wanted to play through injury to play for a contract. And the Celtics' big crime is that they actually let him play. They actually did what the player wanted. And now it's their fault. Now it's all their fault. Now Isaiah Thomas has no responsibility in that. Anyway, this phenomenon, guys, it's just going to get more and more weird, more and more aggressive, more and more anti-authority, more and more anti-structure, more and more. You know, we see this with the NFL, guys. Black nationalists in the process of ruining the NFL, the most popular sport in the league. Don't think it can't happen with basketball. For the lower segment of the black community, they're not good at building things. They're good at destroying things. Look at their neighborhoods. Litter everywhere, crime everywhere, criminals everywhere, single moms everywhere, drugs everywhere, misery everywhere. It's what they do. They destroy. And you're telling me that that's supposed to be what black is? Fuck all that. And fuck black nationalism in a white majority country. Where do you think that's going to go? How do you think that's going to go for you? Guys, I'll see you soon. Peace.